This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. If you have a dog, of course, you love your dog. It's a part of your family. But I'm going to take a guess and say there's probably a few things your dog does or doesn't do that you'd like to change. Just is what it is. They're doing their thing as a dog. You're a human. The compatibility is there, or else you wouldn't have your dog. But yeah, there's a couple of things, maybe in terms of behavior modification or tasks and things like that. How do you get that done? Dog trainer, got him here today. He's fantastic, and we're going to learn so much as we bring him on. Argos Dog Training is the name of his company. Martin Wright is back on the program. How are you doing today, sir?
Hello, Steve. It's good to see you.
You
I'm
too.
doing well.
Oh, so much to learn here. I'm not even sure where to start, but I'm guessing the most common behavior issues that you get from clients that they're looking to resolve. What do you think? What are the most common ones?
All right. The most common behavioral issues that I see really is manners issues in general. But a lot of the times I get a lot of people who call about leash reactivity, about how the dog behaves when guests come into the home. About dogs just generally being inconsistent in their ability to follow instructions or to follow along or to fall in what with the general goals of the family.
I would imagine the consistency thing is a challenge, but not just because of the dog, but they're human may give commands differently every time, or instead of just one command like sit, we complicate it by saying, "Oh, little boy, come, I want you to sit right now." And all these other words that the dog's confused, I would imagine, right?
A lot of the times the dogs do get confused because of our natural humans, tendency. I believe I read somewhere that there's like 26 different words for snow that the people at the Northern Alaskas and Native Alaskans use. So as humans, we kind of have the tendency to be able to say things differently, but dogs don't understand the same way that they do as humans do. They read more our intentions, our body language than what we're actually saying.
Do you feel that one of the biggest challenges is we look at that dog as a member of our family? So we look at it, whether we want to admit it or not, as a human. The dog's not a human. The dog is never going to be a human. The dog is always going to be a dog and act like a dog. But we're trying to fit them into our human life. You feel that's a challenge a lot of times?
Yes, that definitely is a big thing that we see a lot, especially currently, with dogs and families and dog training. That is something that we see, but we do have a lot in common with dogs. We can't consider them exactly the same as we are because they're just not. But we do have a lot in common. Dogs are family animals, and they could also form family bonds with animals of different species, which makes us very unique, which makes us humans and dogs really unique. So, yeah, we just have to make sure we're clear with them in a way that they could understand. We kind of have to go to them more than expecting them to understand or to communicate like us.
Do you feel it's more of we need to meet them where they are and adapt to them as opposed to trying to get them to adapt to us?
That is true. Especially initially. Especially initially. As time goes on and you have a young dog and you meet them where they are and they grow up and you're communicating with them, then as they get older, as they grow into adulthood, then things can change and they could really understand you a lot better. But you have to have a really good foundation, in the basics in order to be able to get to that stage.
Well, why don't we go to maybe the beginning and the basics? And even if you have a dog, I believe this question will apply. But what are the most important things to think about before adding a dog to your family?
The most important thing is really time. Do you have the time, especially initially? especially the first 2 weeks when the dog is there. Do you have the time to really set the relationship? That would be the number one thing. The second thing would probably be, are you willing to learn, how to meet them where they are? That would probably be the second thing. A lot of the times, we think of a dog almost like bringing in a 7-year-old into the family, where you're old enough to kind of understand some things. We don't expect you to be an adult, but we also don't expect you to be a little baby where you're making messes and doing things like that. We expect you to be a little older than that and have that reasoning ability of about a 7-year-old, which is kind of tricky.
It really is. And the patience, I give you a lot of credit, is you must have so much patience for dog training. Because I even find it myself. I have a dog. I have 2 cats. My cats are like dogs. They really are. I'm blessed. They're warm, fuzzy, sweet. And I'll come home and my cat's, on the counter, as he always is. I walk through the door. He's got his paws out. I'm not exaggerating. Paws are out. He's like, give me a hug, Daddy. Give me a hug. And I go over. I give him a hug. I'm not making this up. He puts his paws around me. He nuzzles my chin. He drools a lot because he gets all excited. And I feel guilty. That's like, I just walked in the door. I got things to do. It's like, all right, buddy. And even like laying down and hanging out with him, watching TV. He wants to be all over me. Give me love. Give me love. I'm like, I want to chill. Patience. Yeah. Where do you find the patience to do what you do, Martin? And what are your suggestions for us, if any, to find the patience to properly adapt and train our dogs?
So first of all, that your cat sounds very unique. I have 1,000 questions about your cat right now. But
it is a different situation. I got to admit, it really is.
But I want to try to stay on topic. I had cats in the past too, and yeah, we could have a whole different conversation about that.
Even a whole conversation about integrating cats with your dog. That's another thing there,
Oh yes, and if that's an issue, then we should definitely talk about that too. But the thing about patience, the thing about patience, for me, the best way and what I try to help my clients to do is to schedule. That's the best way to have patience. If you know how long a task is going to take, even if a dog is not cooperating with you, I'm going to be working on this for 20 minutes. So then it's going to be easier for you to be less frustrated and to come back again. We don't expect a dog to be perfect after the first session. We know that this is a more of a 2-week or 3. Dogs improve at the same rate that grass grows. Right.
I never heard that before.
So we kind of have to it's definitely growing, but we have to have that. It's going to take a couple weeks. And now if we schedule ourselves correctly, thinking about that, hey, it's going to take me 5 minutes to get the dog outside to go just before I even start to walk, so that way we could do it gracefully. And then as we do it more and more gracefully, it speeds up. Patience.
Well, okay. Can I just interject here? I don't mean to cut you off, but right at this juncture, when you take care of the grass, it's watered, it's fertilized, you're giving it love, it starts growing a little faster, right?
It does. It does. And the same thing, but there's a beginning point, right? There has to be a time when you start fertilizing. And that first beginning point, it might take a little while for the grass to adjust. Right.
Gotcha.
And to actually get into that growth spurt. So it's kind of the same with dog. Another thing about patience, a lot of the times I have clients who say my dog is stubborn, right? I think stubbornness is a synonym of patience. I think they're the same thing. I don't think there's a big difference there. I think the dog is showing patience. They're showing that, hey, this is the way I've always gotten the thing that I wanted. And if I continue this path, I believe that's where I'm going to end up, And we just kind of have to out stubborn them without it becoming personal.
It seems like it goes back to what we started talking about today, in that it's a dog. It's not a human. So it's programmed to be a dog, and that's the way it's going to be. Yeah, you can modify that a little bit, but I love looking at that stubbornness being patience or lack of patience. Yeah, and we get frustrated. Could be the same thing with a kid. If your kid's not doing what's expected, but then again, the difference is, or no difference really. A smaller child might not even know what you're expecting. The dog might
That's
not even
right.
know what you're expecting.
That is so true. And that's the teaching part. You know, they don't know. And a lot of the times we think that that puppy that we bring home is kind of like that 7-year-old child who's been with us for 7 years, who know these basic simple things. Like it's rude to push past me when we're going for a walk and to get at the door and start jumping up and scratching at it. You know, a 7-year-old child wouldn't do that. A 2-year-old child might throw a tantrum and
Sure.
might scratch at doors because they're not getting exactly what they want until we start to teach them those basic manners and how to manage their energy. Anybody who's going to live with us humans in our complicated society has to understand manners, basic manners.
Well, that's where you come in. So where did this start for you training dogs? Like, take us right to the beginning. Did you love as a kid dogs? Were they in your life?
So, my story with dogs starts actually in Jamaica. I'm a Jamaican. I was born in Jamaica.
Wagwan, my friend. Wagwan.
Wagwan.
Which, by the way, means
Right.
what's going on.
Yep. Back in 1977, that's so long ago. Oh boy. Back then, when
I remember it well, though.
do you?
Yeah, I do.
Back then, when I was born, we had a farm in Jamaica, and we had dogs on the farm. We had
Sure.
farm animals in general. So I grew up with goats and chickens and dogs. I'm not really grew up. I was born in that environment.
Sure.
And a couple of years later, I came to America, and we weren't allowed to have dogs. You know, as I was growing up in America, but I animals would follow me home, whether it's cats or dogs. I would get them. I'd get them to follow me home. I'd leave them little pieces of food here and there until my mom got wise to it. But as far as dog training goes, back in 2001, my wife, Neil Berkman Wright, who was also my business partner, we started our first dog business, which is a dog walking business. At the time, I was doing another job, but in 2008, when the economy kind of got a little bit funky, I decided to come on full time as a dog walker with her, right? And then that's the start of the story. In 2010, so between 2008 and 2010, I was walking dogs. I was listening to Audible, and I would listen to all the dog-related books that they had, which was not that many. But all day long, I'm out there walking dogs, so that's what I was doing. I was learning from it, and of course, I had these dogs in front of me. I started noticing things were different when people would stop their car. People in the neighborhood would stop their car and be like, "Hey, those two dogs hate each other. That's my dog, and that dog, they never got along." But I'd be walking them together peacefully and calmly. Um, 2010, I went to National Canine School for Dog Trainers in Ohio. And that's where I got the beginnings of my formal education in dog training. And then when I came out of there, I immediately started training on my own. Of course, I had mentors. I went around the country. As I got older and I got more experienced with it, I started to identify trainers whose systems I enjoyed and I liked. So then I started traveling the country to learn from these different trainers. And then as that happened, you know, my skills developed further, and that's how I kind of ended up where I am today.
Beautiful. I got to tell you, I've been to Jamaica many times. I've been blessed to work there many times. Got to go back. The people, the culture, warm, friendly. Got to say, I bet you that's where a lot of your patience comes from.
Yes.
I'm feeling
There's,
that.
there's a thing called island time.
Thank you for that.
There's a thing called island time.
I gotta reset my watch because I'm from and in New York.
Yes, and there's a New York minute, and they don't aren't the
I
same.
got it. Wow.
No.
Wow. I need a moment to process all of that. Um, what do you specialize in? What aspects of dog training would you say, your specialty?
All right. So primarily, I'm a dog modification expert. That is what I consider my specialty. People generally call me with dog problems, and then I help them to solve those. I also specialize in puppy development,
Hmm.
trying to raise dogs so that way they don't have problems in the future. And that's a big one. I also specialize in what I call communication, which is different than traditional obedience in that traditional obedience focuses on our ability to ask the dog to do something and make sure that the dog follows through, the dog does it. Communication goes both ways. I ask dogs to do things in a language they could understand, but we're also taking information from them, about
Hmm.
their emotional state, their energy level, about the tendencies to whether or not they will do what we just asked them to do. A lot of the times I could tell before I ask the dog to do something if they're going to do it or not.
Hmm. Do you feel that, well, let me preface this by saying that there are people out there that feel that there is communication with a dog. It's call it telepathy, whatever. You can think of what they're thinking. You're on their level, their page, if you will. It's not just about body language. Do you feel that maybe there's something you're so tuned in that there's that kind of communication potentially going on?
Um, I think that dogs are very good at reading our intentions. I
Mm.
think that body language is um is is something that they naturally pick up on. And I think that it can feel like they are telepathic with us,
Okay.
you know, but that is a development in the relationship. I know that there was a study, and I did not look this up, but I know that there was a study done maybe in the 80s about people coming home. Their dogs would be at home, and they were coming home, and they would study, and they would see that when the person makes the decision to come home, that the dog would start looking for them, or the cat. This was dogs and cats, so they'll start kind of looking for them, hanging around the windows. They were able to say that they could sense that they were coming. But I believe it's more about reading our body because our body language tells the truth right away. And I think the dogs see things, they see things differently than we do in that aspect.
Mm. So you're certified as a dog trainer. Tell us about your training, your experience along the way there.
Definitely. So I am a certified dog trainer. I got my certification through the National Canine School for Dog Trainers. But I'm certified multiple times, because I'm also a North American obedience instructor. NODWA is what it's called, the oldest professional organization for dog trainers in the United States. And that is a certificate as well. In order to join that, you have to have experience and you have to be tested, but there's a lot of different certifications out there. I'm not exactly sure how many I have because as I go around and I study from other trainers, when you reach a certain point in development in their method of training, they provide you a lot of the times with a certificate, you know.
Beautiful.
Um, so yeah, I do have a few of them, and they are vast. They vary from first aid to all the way to conditioned relaxation to large field socialization, to everything from protection work. I'm certified in that, although I don't do it, service dog training, all those things are things that I already have certifications for, and that help me in my career, the things that I've learned from the
Mm.
people who've taught them to me. And the most important thing about the certifications is that the people who taught me, I'm still friends with them. So as
Beautiful.
they learn, I continue to learn.
Do you find that you have a thirst to learn more? Even at this juncture, maybe there's a new collar. There's a new. I didn't even know about that technique. That yeah, whatever. Do you find that like you're a sponge, always looking for something else?
Definitely, definitely. My dream is that somebody comes to me with a very difficult dog, and they hand me the leash. I take the leash and I hand it back to them, and the dog is perfectly behaved, right? Job done. That's my ultimate dream. So I'm always looking for more information to be able to develop my skills so that way my work is faster, more complete, quicker, and it is of higher quality. I'm reading everything. I read Dr. Alexandria Horowitz. I read everything I can about dogs and dog behavior and about the history, of how they became a part of our society.
Sure.
Everything I can. This is my topic, you know.
Well,
So
I'm going to say your topic, but it's also your passion. And I'm also going to say it seems like this is your purpose. I believe we all have a purpose. We were given certain skills, and it doesn't mean you don't monetize your purpose, but your purpose is to help others. And you found it. You found it.
When you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life, right? That's what they
Exactly.
say. But then all of us have to return emails, right?
Well,
it's
actually,
like,
I
well,
have Martin. I have my cat returning my emails now. No, I'm
oh,
kidding.
we really have to talk about your cat.
The pause. Once you get them, the little nails on the keyboard, it gets
Yep,
on there.
it works.
You can work with people virtually, right?
Yes, I do work with people virtually. In my programs, I hope we will have an opportunity to really talk about that at a later time. But I do have virtual programs on Argos Online, which is a part of argostraining.com, just Argos and training.com. It is a part of that. I do work virtually. I am unique. I believe my system and my program is unique virtually, but anybody anywhere in the United States, I can help you with your dog or in the world, as long as we speak the same languages.
Dog language.
Right.
Argos, Argos. What's that stand for?
Argos. Argos comes from, I believe it was the Odyssey, which is a Greek poem by Homer, in which Odysseus, please pardon my pronunciation. But he went away to fight the war, and then on his way, it's about the journey about him coming back. But when he does come back to Ithaca, his dog is still there, 20 years old, fastest dog ever. But now no one is really taking care of it. But he comes in and he sneaks in, disguised, and his dog is the only one who recognizes him. And
Wow.
and that's where I got the name from.
Very cool.
That's where it comes from.
Oh,
It also stems from the fact that when I started, the phone book was a thing. And if you want to be at the front of the phone book, you have to have an A. Almost named it A Argos.
plus.
Right?
Well, for me, speaking with you, Argos, amazing realization, great opportunity, because I'm realizing a lot of things here that I need to change with my dog. The opportunity is you, and the S at the end of Argos, sensational. Love what you do. Love your mindset and all of that. And again, the website, share it again.
It's Argos Training, argostraining.com.
Beautiful. Thank you for today, Martin. Learned a lot, and there's so much more to learn next time we get together.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, Steve.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.